The Milltek Sport Civic Cup is about to head out onto the circuit for the final racing action of the weekend here at Brands Hatch. Their third of 3 races, round 6 of the championship, and after 2 really close quarters races, easy for me to say, so far this weekend. We're looking forward to more of the same. Over 15 minutes here at the end of the weekend. Andy McEwen and Paul O'Neill talking to you live from the Brands Hatch commentary box, and Paul, it has been quite the weekend of racing so far for the Civic Cup around what is always a driver's favourite circuit. The Brands Hatch Indy Circuit never ever fails to produce good racing.
Yeah, it's been awesome, isn't it? Really good. Like you say, close quarters. Bit too close quarters sometimes, mate, but that's always the way around here, isn't it? You need to be right up the backside of another car to try to get underneath them around here. But great, it's been a great weekend. It's good to see people still here to watch this last race for us today, which is the Civic Milltek Sport Cup. So it's all very good, and it's looking like a very bleak grid. There's no one there yet, but they are coming, so just bear with us.
It'll be a lot brighter in a moment once the cars make their way onto that Brands Hatch grid. As I said, second race that we've had for the Civics this weekend. Race 1 yesterday was won by Alistair Camp, his first victory of the year actually for the reigning champion, with Matt Luff in second place. Ben Sharp then went and won the reverse grid race, as is tradition now at Brands Hatch for Ben Sharp to win the reverse grid second race on his one-off appearance in the championship, with Morgan Bailey second and Ryan Bensley third. Ben Sharp, it's worth pointing out, doesn't score championship points because he is a, like I said, one-off entry. So actually Morgan Bailey gets the points for the race victory, even though he technically didn't win on the road. In the production class, meanwhile, Louis Hounsell got his first victory of the season, and Alfie Jenkins, who's been dominating the production class all season long, registered a non-finish, which means that actually we've now had a change of championship lead in production, with Dave Marshall yet to win a race in that class, but Mr. Consistency, he's finished second in all but one race this year, and that was a third place finish yesterday. He is actually leading the championship now by 3 points over Alfie Jenkins. So the production class has been going up and down a little bit all weekend. This one though, the second fastest lap times from qualifying have set the grid, and it's Matt Luff significantly here, Paul, out qualifying Alistair Camp. Now he didn't quite have Camp's race pace in the race earlier, or yesterday I should say, but now he's got the track position advantage. Can Luff go and get that race victory, do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon so. I mean, we've seen Matt Luff do the business before. The area cars on the front row, always very colourful. That is a feisty couple of rows, that, isn't it? That is, there's a row there of Butler and Thackeray that just says to me, we don't want to finish where we're starting, and there is Rob Butler, and he will definitely want to win this. But Camp and Luff on the front row are going to want that too. So Morgan Bailey as well in that red and white car, look out for him. He is starting back on
8th on the grid.
8th on the grid, isn't he? So yeah, there's a little gap as well there, isn't there, next to him in 9th. I don't know whether that's the car that's come out late.
No, that's where Bradley Lane should be. Now, Bradley had a shunt yesterday at Druids and went into the barriers, did a lot of damage to the left front corner of the car, so he's not been back out since. So I think that's the gap that we've got there. 9th on the grid, so one car missing. But as you said, at the front of the grid, you've got Matt Luff looking for his first victory of the season. Matt is, though, the championship leader by 4 points now over Alistair Camp, who has only had one win himself. In fact, only one driver has won more than one race this year. Well, actually, no, not really. Morgan Bailey has scored race-winning points twice, but as we said, finished second on the road earlier today. So we've actually had 5 different race winners from the first 5 races this season. It is the most wide open this championship has been for quite some time. And Luff and Camp on that front row is going to be a fascinating battle between the area motorsport teammates. Rob Butler has already told me he's going full send in this race, so those two in front of him should probably be watching their backs, because Rob Butler, who's not doing the full season in Civic Cup, is going to have very little to lose in this one and will be aiming for the front of the field, that's for sure.
So like you say, it's that it's the first 2 rows for me that are going to be the ones to watch, but there is people out of position. Morgan Bailey, we know, is fast, he can win races, but there is also Ryan Bensley, who's had a great weekend. I think he had a problem in qualifying with a few things, and they've been just catching up on the car and making sure it's square and everything's good, because in the last race, obviously, he finished 3rd, so he could be up there as well.
Another out of position very much is George Alp Williams, who had a terrible qualifying session with a sliced brake line yesterday, so he starts from outside of the top 10, the driver who was actually leading the championship coming into the weekend. The cars then head out onto their green flag lap. I think this means we've got a chance to run through this big grid. We've got more than 30 cars across the 2 classes racing with us this weekend. So the pole position is, as we've said, held by Matt Luff with his teammate Alistair Camp alongside. Dan Thackeray and Rob Butler make up row 2. Then it's Will Redford. Dave Bookie and the Kinetic Motorsport team have done a good job to get that car out there, because there was quite a few things that had gone wrong with it after race 2. Jack Harding starts 6th on the grid in his first ever weekend of racing front-wheel drive cars. The Mazda MX-5 race winner starts 6th. Paul Taylor and Morgan Bailey are there on row 4, and row 5 will not be Bradley Lane, but Max Lewis on his own, 10th on the grid. Keep an eye to Harvey Caton. The youngster starts in 11th on the grid alongside Ryan Bensley, with Ben Sharp, the race 2 winner, coming from 13th, but he's got that car working a lot better now. He's got Daniel McDonald for company on the 7th row. Row 8 for championship contender George Alp Williams and Ben Mills alongside him in 16th. Then it's Jordan Brennan with Max Edmondson, 2 very quick sim racers who are both going to be trying to move their way through from 17th and 18th on the grid. Neil Gardner and Matthew Cripps to round out the top 20. Then it's Alfie Threlfall and Adam Kruger, another driver who doesn't score championship points, Adam Kruger. Jeff Olden got some points in the previous race. He's alongside Sam Linsner on row 12. Then it's Natalie Brooks, Owen Hillman and James Pownell at the back of the Cup class grid. In production, Alfie Jenkins is on pole position, aiming to bounce back from that non-finish earlier on today. He's got the race 2 winner, Louis Hounsell, alongside on row 1. Dave Marshall, the production points leader, is 3rd, ahead of Aaron Reeve 4th. Then at the back of the production grid, Rhys Lewis and Mark Hughes. So, Matt Luff, another Mazda MX-5 graduate, actually, moving from the Mark 1 MX-5 Championship a couple of years ago. Also raced in Ginettas in the junior category a few years ago, so he's got a lot of rear-wheel drive experience. This is his 2nd season of racing in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. 2nd in the championship last year was Matt Luff, and really caught a few people's attention when he started regularly taking the fight to Alistair Camp, who is the reigning champion in that number 1 car. Who is going to get into that first corner first? Well, neither of them are anywhere near their grid markings, especially Alistair Camp. He's half a car's length behind where he could be lined up, whereas the 2 behind have lined up almost perfectly. Dan Thackeray 3rd and 4th place for Rob Butler. Right, the revs appear to be rising. The back of the grid has been set. We're ready to go for 15 minutes of racing in round 6 of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Matt Luff from pole, Alistair Camp alongside, and Camp doesn't get a great start, actually. Good start made by Will Redford further back, but it's actually Dan Thackeray who comes up the inside of Camp to challenge for 2nd place, heading for Paddock Hill Bend. Into the right-hander they will go, 2 and 3 wide in the middle of the field, but it looks as though Matt Luff is going to hang on to the advantage. Camp around the outside cannot challenge for the lead into Druids Corner. He's going to have to try hard to hold on to 2nd place, and there's contact further back. 2 or 3 cars are off into the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend, and at least one of them, I fear, Paul, is going to go no further.
Yeah, I think you've got a problem there. That was Owen Hillman, and I think he will be stuck in the gravel, but we'll keep eyes on that in a bit. The leaders, though, look at this. Luff's holding it off. Camp down the inside. Thackeray holding it round the outside. I think they've all got away with it, but Camp's been pretty lucky, actually. Oh, he's not been lucky now. He's sideways. Oh. He's just got to the apex. But look at that, sideways again. That's Redford, isn't it?
Yeah, Morgan Bailey into the back of him there. Morgan has been using the front of that car to great effect this weekend. He's about to make the move, but the safety car boards are out. Unsurprisingly, a few of them, as always, are a little bit late to spot the flags, but they just avoided contact. I'll be interested to see who got the better of that Redford and Bailey battle. They will both stake a claim to 4th place, I think. But no doubt about the leader. Matt Luff got a good start. The best start was made by Thackeray, really, wasn't it, from the inside of row number 2. But as is often the case, Paul, you get that good start and then there's nowhere to go. It's a narrow track, and if they're 2x2 in front, you're sort of boxed in, aren't you?
Yeah, you're a bit stuffed down here. To be fair, it all looked like a pretty clean start, didn't it? The front of the pack got round okay, middle was okay, but it was just as we started to get from the middle to the back, there was a bit of contact, but it was a great start, and Thackeray was right on it. Camp was massively compromised, actually. He could have dropped down to 4th, but he just got his nose ahead because I think Matt Luff braked early, and that made him just gap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the end, Matt Luff still has Alistair Camp in his wing mirrors then. He would have rather hoped to have a couple of cars between them after the start of the race. So safety car is out then. Luff leads the way. Camp is 2nd. Thackeray 3rd. 4th Bailey. 5th for Redford, who held position then from his starting spot, despite that contact from Bailey. Although, interestingly, yeah, Bailey has gone... no, he's dropped back behind Redford, so Redford will be 4th with Bailey 5th, then Butler 6th, 7th for Harding, 8th for Taylor, 9th Lewis, and Harvey Caton inside the top 10. So, dramatic start to the race. One car stuck in the gravel trap at Paddock Hill Bend. Let's see if we can piece together perhaps what happened then, because I think we can drag up a replay of the start shenanigans, and we'll be able to piece together what happened. A great start for Thackeray there, but as you'll see, the road ahead of him is completely blocked by area cars.
Yeah, Morgan Bailey in the red and white car was really lucky as well there, but Thackeray made a great start, and he was up to 2nd, I reckon, for maybe, I don't know, a few hundred yards. But then you can see Thackeray down the inside in the 29, Camp on the outside. Matt Luff breaks early, and then Camp gets into the lead. Matt Luff gets into the lead, but at the back, you can see there, that was absolute carnage, wasn't it?
Yes, I didn't see who it was, but somebody got into Owen Hillman. It might have been James Powell. No, it might have been Natalie Brooks in the 23. But anyway, Pownell was the first. Hillman was the first to go around, and then others scattering in avoidance. It caught a few of the production runners up, unfortunately. Louis Hounsell leads in production from Marshall 2nd and Reese Lewis in 3rd. Jenkins is at the back of the field with a bit of damage, I noticed. So I reckon Jenkins was perhaps caught up in that and got a bit of damage to the front of his car. Brands Hatch has not been quite as kind to him as Cadwell Park was earlier on in the season. Just the one car that needs moving, though, and it's right on the edge of that gravel trap, so as soon as they get it dug out of there, it should be able to be dragged out of the way, so hopefully only one more lap, maybe 2, behind the BMW safety car. Matt Luff won't mind this, actually, because it's a couple of laps less that he has to worry about defending from Alistair Camp, and Matt Luff trying to make this 6 different winners from the first 6 races. Indeed, race number 2 earlier on today was the first time that Matt had been out of the top 5 all season so far.
It's a pretty stupendous effort, that, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been Mr. Consistency up to this point, but Brands Hatch, as I've said, a bit of an up and down story for most of the drivers out there up to this point. Camp then in 2nd. Will Redford, I mentioned at the start of the race, the Kinetic Motorsport team doing a really good job to sort that car out. You may remember Redford in that white and blue car, number 42, had a big slide at Paddock Hill Bend in the race earlier on today, and that's because as he went to change down from 5th to 4th gear, it jumped out of gear, and of course that sent him sideways. Did a great job not to get stuck in the gravel trap, but it sent him right down the order, and Redford eventually finished that 2nd race outside of the top half dozen or so. In fact, Redford was eventually a non-finisher, of course, because he had some mechanical issues. So Redford, on his 2nd ever race weekend in the championship, did well to save the slide, and now wants to repay the team, if he can, for all of their hard work to get him out there.
Right. Safety car lights are out then, Andy, so this is going to be an interesting start here. I think that car was very quickly got out of the way. Fair play again. that was gone. So, yeah, and what's going to happen here? Is he going to get gone up the road? I think Matt Luff knows how to restart a race, so let's see what happens.
And he wants Alistair Camp to be under pressure from Thackeray if possible, so he will try and back Camp up, I'm sure. He's left a big gap to the safety car in front, and now as they get through the middle of clearways, he steps on the loud pedal, but Camp, again, even more experienced than Luff. He knew what was coming, and he's right behind the race leader as they come to the start-finish line. Alistair might choose to have a go here as they head into Paddock Hill Bend. 9 minutes left on the clock then, and round number 6 of the championship gets back underway with Matt Luff defending the inside line into turn number 1. Will that compromise his exit speed maybe and allow Alistair Camp to get the inside line at Druids? No, not quite, but they could not be closer.
Yeah, just did enough, didn't he, Matt Luff? It looked like he made a great restart, but apex to exit of clearways. I don't know if he's got wheel spin from one of the front wheels, and it's just put him back into the clutches. But great entry and exit for Luff into Graham Hill Bend and out of it, because now Thackeray is into the back of Camp.
Yeah, Luff really had some good traction off that corner, didn't he? So he's starting to get into the rhythm. Camp won't let him have this easy, though. Remember, in the race yesterday, Alistair definitely had the pace advantage over Matt Luff. So, granted, they'll probably have changed the setup a little bit on those cars, but I don't anticipate that Matt is going to have this all his own way. They're as close this time as they were a lap ago as they come across the stripe, with Luff leading the way and Camp in second for the second lap in a row. Luff drives down the middle of the road into turn 1, just covering off that attack on the inside line. Caught a glimpse there of a yellow flag at Druids. I can see no reason for that, and it's back in again by the time they get to the top of the hill, where Alistair is almost pushing Luff through the corner.
Oh, look at this now. You've got a lot going on here, and it looks like Redford now is putting Thackeray under massive pressure. But weirdly, the two area cars don't seem to hit apexes, but still can drive away from everyone else. So they're carrying some big momentum through the corners, and they're getting away with it. But yeah, Luff is just like a yo-yo with Camp at the back of the car. Look at that. Look at Thackeray whacks the apex, and maybe that's why they can't get anywhere near the two area cars, because he's just bouncing a bit too much off the top of those curves.
Yeah, it's good on the way into the corner, but then costs you speed on the exit, and down the straight you can see the way those top two with their wider line at clearways just start to get away slightly from the third and fourth place cars. Thackeray and Redford, by the way, did have a tangle in the race earlier on today, which saw Redford get knocked out wide just before he had that slide at Paddock Hill Bend. So I don't think those two are getting on particularly well. Morgan Bailey is there in 5th as well now, joining in the fight, whilst Rob Butler is trying to fend off Jack Harding just behind them. That's 6th and 7th. Rob Butler, number 74, hanging on, but Jack Harding is all over him as they head down that back straight. We're into the second half of the race now. 6 3/4 minutes to go, and Luff just cannot shake Camp.
With these two being teammates, it's going to be a bit close like it is, but oh, I tell you what, Camp knows how to win a race, and Luff knows how to do the business, but they're just eking away now, aren't they? Because Redmond's looking at the back of Thackeray for P3, but these two, this is as close as it's been. This could be defence from Luff, and it could be a switchback from Camp.
Yeah, he's been defensive into Paddock a few times, and Alistair has almost got at the inside of him on the exit, but again, Luff gets off the corner ahead and then can get over to the inside line to cover. So Camp goes to the outside into Druid's corner. Through the right-hander then, still the same order behind them, it would seem, with Thackeray 3rd, Redford 4th and Bailey 5th. It's side-by-side for 6th, though. Butler and Harding are banging into each other down the hill, and that almost ended in tears.
Wow, yeah, there's a lot going on out there, isn't there? There's quite a few groups. This lead group is fantastic. Morgan Bailey in the red and white car now trying to join in. The second group of cars is on its way, and yeah, and then there's a third group of cars as well, so they're nose to tail, but this is a nice little battle as well, isn't it?
And in between that second and third group of cars on his own is George Alp-Williams, not having a particularly good race here. That car doesn't seem to be on the pace, does it? Ryan Bensley there at the inside of Harvey Caton, the youngest driver on the grid, trying to defend there from Ryan Bensley, as Alistair Camp tries to go right round the outside now of Matt Luff of Paddock. Now this is a new approach. Round the outside of Paddock can work. You've then got to go back round the outside of Druids, but that could give him the inside for Graham Hill Bend. The two teammates almost lead on each other. Matt Luff just managing to keep head, but Camp is there.
That was a great move, and the only reason he'd get away with that is that Thackeray's going to try and get in there as well. That was a great move by Camp. The only reason that happened is because it's his teammate and he respects Matt Luff, because if it wasn't, you'd have been driven on the grass. That was a great move and a great piece of driving also by Matt Luff for not smashing him out of the way. Thackeray wants this P2 now.
Yeah, Luff is not close enough at clearways to retaliate against Camps, and now does have to turn his attention to defending that second position, I think, from Dan Thackeray, who at the moment is 6th in the championship, looking for his first win of the year as well as Dan, and he's right in the mix here in this third and final race. 4.5 minutes to go through Paddock Hill Bend. Hopping over the curb, can Alistair Camp now get away? Certainly based on yesterday's race pace, you wouldn't bet against it, and he's just opened up a small gap over Luff. He's further ahead of Luff now than Luff ever was ahead of Alistair in the first part of the race, isn't he?
Yeah, it's starting to look like the Camp champ that we know. He's doing a great job as usual, but yeah, he really has just pushed forward, isn't he? And look at this battle. That is Ryan Bensley. He's a bit of a cork in the bottle there. Well, he's got a bouncing Taylor behind him in that 195. Yeah, they're all starting to really get in touch with each other. You can see Bensley with that red, black and white car with the headlights on. And yeah, as they turn into clearways now, that rear right locking, the unloaded wheel at the rear always locking. It's nice to see that. It's a proper setup race car, that.
Bensley, Taylor and Ben Sharp, by the way, were 3 abreast in 30s a lap ago. They somehow all survived it, with Bensley getting the better of them, so he moves into 9th position on that lap ahead of Paul Taylor, and now sets off after Max Lewis. Back at the front, Camp continuing to stretch his legs. Will Redford still thinking about trying to have a go at Dan Thackeray, but the cars and indeed drivers are all just so evenly matched. There's a screech of tyres. It's Rob Butler. Thought it might have been. Rob Butler out very wide at Druid's corner. That drops him away from Jack Harding, and he now becomes a part of this incredibly evenly matched battle at the back of the top 10.
Yep, still all happening. Bensley with his headlights on in that 14 car coming through, and yeah, he had a good second race of the weekend, didn't he? But he'll want to get a bit further up here if he can.
Yes, he will, up through Clearways corner. Brilliant sight they make. Really well prepared cars, these Civic Cup machines, and they are all, as you can see, very evenly matched. That's Max Edmondson off the road. Now, Max told me before the race he wanted me to give him lots of mentions. Well, I'm going to mention you, Max, but not necessarily for the right reasons. He's had a spin going through McLaren and into Clearways, and Max Edmondson, unfortunately, has had a bit of a weekend to forget. That car's had some mechanical problems, and I think he's giving up, quite frankly. He's into the pit lane, maybe with damage, and that is not the way he wanted his weekend to end.
Yeah, that's a shame, that, isn't it? But at least he's got out the way, got back into the pits. I think the other car that was involved is out the way as well, so there shouldn't be any safety car or yellows. But it seems like a bit of a status quo at the minute. No one's close enough to make a move in that lead group.
Yeah, very equally matched, aren't they? Although Thackeray and Redford are battling away just to prove you wrong, and there's the tag in the tail. The gap was there, in fairness. Redford put his foot in the door and then prized it all the way open through Clearways. So side by side for third. Redford on the inside, Thackeray on the outside. He's not going to have any of this, though. He's coming back at him. They bang wing mirrors into Paddock once, nearly twice. But on the inside line, Redford is sideways at the first corner. Brilliant stuff. And still they're door to door.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's not so good. That's a shame for Thackeray. I thought he might be able to keep his fight. I don't think this is over yet. Bailey wants a bit of this. Look at that. It's proper old school touring car stuff. That bumper hanging off at the rear. And now, I bet you what, he must be looking in his rear view mirror thinking, yeah, you deal with Bailey now, because I've had enough of him.
That was brilliant stuff. Fair play to Thackeray for trying to hang it tough around the outside, but that was always going to end one way, unfortunately, especially after he did that to Redford in the earlier race. Morgan Bailey. What a slide through Surtees and over the curb as well. He's into fourth, but he's doing his best to throw it away by that kind of driving. That was very spectacular indeed.
Wow, it really was, wasn't it? And I didn't think it'd be him that would have the problem with oversteer. As you can see, 3 cars trying to make it into one. This could be a bit tight. Fire spitting out the back of these Civic Type Rs. Absolutely beautiful to see. And like you say, these cars so well prepared. This is amazing stuff. Go on, Catton.
Oh, Harvey Caton passed 2 of them in one. What a move for Harvey Caton. And he gets 2 places at Paddock. He was already up the inside of Ben Sharp. Then he converted into a move against Paul Taylor. But Taylor now comes back at him as they head towards Druid. George Alt Williams is trying to become a part of that as well. Meanwhile, in production, Dave Marshall here fighting away with Alfie Jenkins. Now, is this for the class lead? You don't know where to look. They're 3 wide at Graham Hill Bend. Caton still in front of Taylor. That was one of the moves of the day, that, for Caton. I don't think he intended to get past both of them, but somehow he did.
That's amazing. Speaking to Caton's dad before, and I know him quite well, that was good to see. The boy just is a racer. He's a racer, and you're going to see that kid winning this championship.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job. Absolutely stunning to see.
Right, in production, the race is being led still by Aaron Reeve, but that was for second place, the Jakins and Marshall battle, with Jakins getting the better of Marshall. And interestingly, still not a particularly good race here for Louis Hounsell, who won the earlier race. He's down in fourth in the production category for the time being. We're on to the final lap of the race, though. The time has ticked down to 0, and Alistair Camp, having fought his way past Matt Luff, has now been able to stretch off into the distance, and he looks good for another race victory, his second of the weekend, and he'll become the first driver to actually win more than one race this season. It would be car number 1 that would manage to achieve that first this season. Alistair then cocks the right rear wheel through clearways, nicely done. This race, I wouldn't say it was never in doubt. Matt Luff wasn't going to let him through without a fight, but once he got past, Alistair has never ever looked back. He comes across the start-finish line then and claims his second victory of the season in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup, and his second of the weekend as well. Matt Luff, his teammate, brings it home in second to make it another Area Motorsport 1-2. Will Redford, a brilliant drive in third. I think he's got to be a candidate for driver of the weekend. And Jack Harding as well, a really solid result there. He gets across the line in fourth position. Max Lewis is fifth, Bensley sixth, Butler seventh, ahead of Harvey Caton with move of the weekend, definitely in that move for eighth towards the end. Ben Sharp ninth, and Paul Taylor rounds out the top 10 finishes. Now in production, we're waiting for those production leaders to come through, but it should be now hang on, no, Jakins is showing as the production leader because Reeve has vanished somewhere on the last lap. Now there is a car pulled off at Paddock Hill Bend. I wouldn't mind getting a closer look at that to see if that is Aaron Reeve, because Reeve, according to the timing screen at least, has not come through to claim the production win. It's Jakins who gets the win from Marshall in second, and no, Reeve is third. So something happened to Aaron Reeve on that final lap. He had a very slow first sector. The car that stopped at Paddock Hill Bend is Rob Butler, who has finished one race this weekend, which is progress for one of the unluckiest men on the grid. Poor old Rob Butler with a mechanical issue towards the end. He won't get to the finish of the race. I did wonder why a few people had moved up a position inside the top 10. That is why. But it's Alistair Camp who gets himself another race victory, and with it, now, will that be enough for the championship lead? He will get himself 25 points. Luff will get 22. It will come down to the fastest lap point, which goes to Camp. So actually that's 26 points to Camp. So I reckon they're tied for the championship lead now, Camp and Luff, the two Area Motorsport teammates, as we go into the third event at Alton Park next time out. But of course, despite the fact we're into the middle of June, we're actually not even halfway through the season yet. So take those points with a bit of a pinch of salt. But Alistair Camp will go and congratulate Matt Luff, and the two joint championship leaders now leaving Brands Hatch are as friendly as ever with each other after their brilliant battle out on circuit. And Alistair Camp, who's got great taste in motorsport commentators, is there on the top step of the podium once again. Third position for Redford, and I'll have a word with Paul O'Neill after this race, but I really do think Will Redford is a great candidate for driver of the weekend, because Redford was really unlucky to non-finish in that second race, but he's had two podiums, his first two podiums of the season, and whilst he's not quite up there winning races with the regularity that Alistair Camp is, I don't think Redford is far away from doing that, and great to see him inside the top three again. Cohort Sports, who sponsor the championship, also sponsoring that Driver of the Weekend award as well. And also full credit to Dave Buki as well for, as I say, getting that Kinetic Motorsport car out for Redford. It may be an Area Motorsport 1-2, but there was quite some doubt about whether Redford would even be on the grid. So really good effort from the team for that one. Alistair Camp then celebrating down in front of his car. He will hopefully very shortly be greeted by Paul O'Neill, and we'll be able to have a chat with our top three drivers, and top three drivers from each class as well, so we can find out exactly what happened in that production class battle, because that really did all change around towards the very end of the race. So the final race of the weekend then completed here at Brands Hatch. The Civic Cup will race next at Alton Park on the 16th of July, and then at Castle Combe on the 6th of August. They're alongside the TCR UK Championship for the rest of their season, with one exception. They've actually got a standalone event away from TCR UK back here at Brands Hatch on the 25th of September. So they will be back here at Brands Hatch on the Indy Circuit again this year, but for the rest of it, they'll be racing alongside TCR UK, which makes this a really, really enjoyable package to watch. Right then, Paul has jogged his way over to the pit lane now, and he's just about ready to catch up with our first double race winner of the season, Alistair Camp.
Wow, well that was pretty good. I'm a bit gutted actually that you won, because you gave me so much grief before, but you've been renamed Alistair Champ and not Alistair Camp. Mate, that was a nice little win with it.
Yeah.
Get that cap on.
Get it on. Why is my hairline that bad?
I can't comment on that.
No, yeah, it's good. I knew that obviously Matt with his experience weren't going to let me undercut, so I thought it's time to grow a set, and we're going for the big one around the outside. And then when I was there, I thought no point in backing off now for Druids to switch back, so just kept it, and I knew I'd got fresher rubber than what he had, so I thought make it stick, and then yeah, get away, because I could see Thackeray catching in Redford, so I thought got to get something done here, else I'm going to be bottlenecked in, and you could end up fourth, as you know yourself.
Well, if it's your teammate, is it a different ball game? Because I'd have kind of been trying to open up my steering lock and stick someone on the grass, but did you know he was going to play fair?
Yeah, I mean, in championship, it is quite fair, to be fair. There's not many that actually put each other on the grass, and they will want to keep racing. The crowds want to see you race. They don't want to see cars off and broke, so we are quite respectful. You obviously have the odd time, but I know you get your gist of which drivers you can be alongside and which you can't. And obviously I know that Matt's fair, I'm fair back, and that's the way it rolls, and that's why we can race and give everyone the show they want.
Yeah. So it's all looking pretty sweet now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot better than Cadwell, that's for sure.
Well, listen, I'll let you crack on and enjoy. The sun's out, so let's go and talk to your teammate, Matty. Hello, Matty Luff. You okay, boy? Looking good as usual, mate. Have you actually been in a race? You don't even look like you've been sweating.
Half of it was under safety car, so no, it was a good race. I mean, we had a great battle with Ali. Yeah, he's always there on my mirrors. And then once he got past me on the outside at Drew, it's like, oh God, I've got to keep in the back of him now. I could just about keep with him. I think we broke away from the pack behind. But yeah, you know, it's good points. It's good points. And I think I'm still in the championship lead. So yeah, I'm happy. You were pretty nice to him, mate. I was saying in commentary, like literally, I was waiting for you to stick him on the grass, but he's your teammate. It's a difficult call, isn't it? It is a bit. I mean, personally, I'm quite a clean driver, so I'm not the type of person to sort of ram someone off unnecessarily. As much as I'd love to, Ali. But yeah, no, I always keep it fair. You know, I've got to give him the room, and you know, on the day he's better than me. That's how it goes. Fair play, mate. Well, that's how you win championships at the end of the day, isn't it? And what I've just seen is that's a bit of a worry. Have you had that bonnet open? I just undid it to get the transponder out. It's all right. I was going to do that side, but you're doing your interview. I was like, I'm not going to get in your shot. So you're like the luckiest man alive if that stayed like that, mate. But well done, fella. Have a good rest of the day. Right, let's go and catch up with Will in P3. Where has he gone? Did I see him? Will, there he is. Sorry, mate. You all the same when you've all got your heads turned to me. Will, that was pretty cool, that, mate. You had a bit of contact, though, didn't you? It was a bit worrying with Thackeray, I think. Was that true?
There was a little bit of a rub coming through the last corner. I don't feel like it was like unfair. I feel like
not at all.
It was a little bit of a rub. It didn't push him wide.
The gap was there?
Yeah, the gap was there. I feel like the gap was there. I'll look at it back after I've seen it and I'll let you know, but I feel like the gap was there. And then we went side by side into turn one, and I think I might have squeezed him a little bit, but I feel like there's enough room on the curb for him to stay on the track, but he got in the gravel a bit, and then that left me with third place, and then it was just a matter of keeping the pace up till the end from there.
No, it looked good, mate. From where we were watching in comms, looked absolutely spot on. There was a bit of lariness at the rear of the car as well, and I think that might have been paid to it. But that, like for me as a driver as well, that was a good move. There was a gap there, and you cracked on. But yeah, it was a bit of a difficult one, wasn't it? You got to go for gaps like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, I had one chance to pass him, and that was that chance, and I got the move done, and it stayed to the end of the race. So, yeah, I mean, I want to send a massive thank you to the team, because we were changing a clutch between race 2 and race 3. We didn't finish race 2 because the clutch went, and we made it to the assembly area with like 3 minutes to go. So managed to stick it on the podium, and I want to send a massive thank you to them for getting me out there, and of course to my sponsors who are here today. And yeah, it's a good race.
Top man. Well, you've done it now. Thanks, guys. He's done all right, isn't he? Look at that. He gets a round of applause as well. Well, that was your cup lot. Let's go and see the production guys. And where is Alfie? Alfie. Is he around here? Where's he gone? Are they? Oh, right, OK, so they've all gone. Who else have I got to? There's no other drivers here. OK, so the production guys have all disappeared, but we'll catch them another time. But anyway, back to you, Andrew. That was pretty much a good little race.
don't take it personally, Paul. I'm sure they didn't disappear just because you rocked up to talk to them down there. We'll hopefully hear from them at Alton Park. Keep an eye to the Civic Cup and indeed TCR UK social media pages, because they upload lots of interviews from over the weekend, both during and after the race weekend has been completed. That's it for racing action here at Brands Hatch. If you're still hearing us trackside, thank you very much for having us. It's been great to be part of this Tuna Fest event at Brands Hatch with both TCR UK and the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. Been some absolutely fabulous racing, and we'll be back at Alton Park again in a few weeks' time.